You stopped reacting the way you used to. Someone said something they had said 100 times before. The same tone, the same kind of comment, the same subtle pressure that normally would have pulled you into an explanation before you even realized what was happening. But this time, you felt the pull without following it. For a second, nothing happened. You did not rush to defend yourself. You did not try to smooth the moment over. You did not automatically become the version of you they expected. You simply noticed the pause. And in that brief silence, something felt different. The pattern was still there, but for the first time, you were watching it instead of becoming it. Chosen one, you thought change would be obvious. A breakthrough, a decision, a dramatic moment everyone could see. Instead, it began in something almost invisible. You stopped reacting the way you always had. That small hesitation changed more than your behavior. It changed your relationship with yourself. And once that happens, people notice, even before they understand why. First, nothing looks different. You still wake up to the same responsibilities. You still answer the same messages. You still walk into the same rooms and interact with the same people. From the outside, your life appears unchanged. But something subtle has shifted. You are no longer moving automatically. Someone asks for more than you want to give. You feel the familiar urge to say yes. A conversation turns uncomfortable. You feel the old impulse to explain yourself. The room becomes tense. You feel the instinct to soften your words so everyone else can stay comfortable. For years, those responses felt natural. You thought that was simply your personality, that you were patient, that you were accommodating, that you were easygoing, that you cared deeply about other people. And much of that was true, but there was another layer beneath it. You had become highly skilled at maintaining emotional stability. You knew how to anticipate reactions. You knew how to avoid conflict. You knew how to stay recognizable. You knew how to keep the peace, even when keeping the peace cost you your own. That is why this shift feels so significant. The external situation has not changed. The same patterns still appear, but now you can see them while they are happening. You can feel the urge, the pressure, the habit, and for the first time, you realize there is a difference between what you feel and what you choose. That difference is small, but it changes everything. At first, the change feels confusing. You may wonder whether something is wrong. Why does a conversation that once felt normal now feel exhausting? Why does agreeing too quickly leave you feeling unsettled? Why does your body tighten when you start performing a role you have played for years? Part of you wants to dismiss it. Maybe you are overthinking. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you are becoming too sensitive. Because if nothing has changed, you can return to what is familiar. And familiarity is powerful, even when it is draining. The familiar version of you knows exactly how to function, how to say the right thing, how to keep relationships stable, how to prevent tension, how to remain accepted. That version of you is efficient, predictable, safe. But as awareness increases, something becomes harder to ignore. You begin to notice how often your responses are organized around avoiding discomfort, avoiding rejection, avoiding misunderstanding, avoiding the possibility that someone might be disappointed. What once felt like identity starts to look more like adaptation. Not fake, not weak, adaptive. A set of intelligent behaviors developed over time. Behaviors that helped you belong. Behaviors that protected you. Behaviors that became so familiar they felt like you. That realization creates uncertainty. If the old version of you was shaped by adaptation, who are you when you stop responding automatically? That question can feel unsettling, but it is also the beginning of clarity. Most people think transformation begins with a major decision, a breakup, a resignation, confrontation, a dramatic declaration that changes everything overnight. But those moments are usually the visible result of something much quieter. You begin catching yourself halfway through an explanation no one asked for, agreeing to something while your stomach tightens, laughing to make the atmosphere feel lighter, softening your words around people whose approval still affects you. At first, these moments seem insignificant. Then they begin to connect. And one day, you catch yourself in real time. Your fingers are already typing a message. You are about to say yes. You are preparing to explain. And suddenly, you feel a strange internal split. Part of you is moving through the old pattern. Another part is watching. That is the moment. Not because anything dramatic happened, because you became aware while the pattern was unfolding. You see how much energy has gone into managing perception, staying agreeable, remaining useful, avoiding disapproval. You see how often your behavior has been shaped by what you fear might happen if you stop adjusting. Will they misunderstand you? Will they pull away? Will they become upset? Will you still feel connected? Awareness does not judge those responses. It explains them, and once they are visible, each familiar reaction carries a different feeling. You sense the gap between what is true and what is habitual. That gap is subtle. But after you feel it, you cannot ignore it. You may still respond the old way sometimes, but now you know, and knowing changes the experience. Because unconscious behavior depends on invisibility. The moment you see the pattern, it begins to lose its authority. This is where the process becomes uncomfortable, because awareness increases pressure. Before, you could move through certain dynamics without fully feeling their cost. Now you feel everything. The tightness in your chest when you agree too quickly. The exhaustion after pretending to be unaffected. The quiet frustration that appears when you abandon yourself to keep the moment stable. And once you can feel the cost, the old pattern becomes harder to sustain. Other people notice the difference. You take longer to answer. You do not react immediately. You agree less quickly. You no longer rush to fill silence. From the outside, you seem calmer. Internally, there is tension. Part of you wants to move forward. Part of you wants the relief of going back. Going back would be easy. You know how to be available. You know how to over-explain. You know how to make yourself smaller. You know how to absorb what does not belong to you. But now, if you return to those patterns, you feel it immediately. That internal drop, that quiet disappointment, that unmistakable sense that you just abandoned yourself again. This is why growth often feels lonely. Not because you are losing yourself, because you are no longer willing to disappear inside familiar reactions. You enter a season where the old way feels unsustainable. The new way still feels unfamiliar, and there is no shortcut through that space. Only awareness. Only practice, only the decision to remain present long enough to choose differently. Eventually, the uncertainty begins to organize itself. What felt confusing starts to make sense. You recognize where your energy has been leaking, which conversations depend on your constant adjustment, which relationships feel stable only when you overextend, how often familiarity has been mistaken for alignment. That realization can be uncomfortable because you begin to see that you were not only available, you were predictable. People knew how to get a reaction from you. They knew which words would trigger an explanation, which situations would make you over-accommodate, how far they could go before you chose yourself. Then something changes, not because you become cold, because you become clear. You stop responding automatically. You stop giving immediate access to your energy. You stop treating every tension as your responsibility to resolve. And the pattern breaks. Now people hesitate. The same approaches do not produce the same results. The same dynamics no longer feel guaranteed. You did not become distant. You became unavailable for what drains you. You did not become difficult. You became deliberate. You did not become someone else. You became more aligned with yourself. That alignment simplifies your decisions. Some conversations no longer require a response. Some invitations lose their appeal. Some relationships fade the moment you stop carrying them. This can look like loss. In reality, it is reorganization. The structures that depended on your constant adjustment begin to loosen. What remains feels quieter, more honest, more sustainable, and the space that follows is not emptiness. It is room for a life that fits. Over time, the pause stops feeling unusual. It becomes part of how you move. You trust what you notice. You listen to the subtle signal that something feels off. You let silence do some of the work. You answer more deliberately. You no longer confuse urgency with importance. You no longer believe every emotional demand deserves your immediate response. You no longer chase understanding from people who are committed to misunderstanding you. This is not detachment. It is presence. A steadier relationship with yourself. A clearer sense of what deserves your energy. A quieter confidence. People notice, not because you announce that you have changed, because the way you carry yourself is different. There is less tension, less explaining, less reflexive accommodation, more calm, more discernment, more quiet certainty. The most important change remains invisible. You trust your own awareness, and once you trust what you see, your identity begins organizing itself around truth instead of habit. That is why you move differently now. You thought transformation would be dramatic, a breakthrough, a visible turning point, a moment everyone around you could recognize. Instead, it began with a pause. A familiar pattern appeared, and for the first time, you did not follow it automatically. That small hesitation changed your life, because it showed you something essential. You are not your automatic responses. You are the awareness that can observe them. You are the part of you that notices, the part that feels the cost, the part that can choose. You were not falling apart. You were becoming conscious. You were not becoming cold. You were becoming clear. You were not losing yourself. You were finally meeting yourself. And once that happens, people notice, because the version of you they knew moved through life automatically. This version moves with intention. This is obsidian within, forged in the shadows, destined for more.